Hello everyone, my name is Turbo Tony 19, and as usual, I'm here with my wrestling partner.
Hey, through Matt.
Yay! We are doing Let's Talk Wrestling again. It's fresh off of Hell in a Cell, which is last night, and we've got a few things to talk about, namely Hell in a Cell. As usual, when it comes to this little series that we're doing, if you can call it that. There's 3 buttons at the top of the screen of our conversations that are today. Number 1 is a general Hell in a Cell recap, mainly talking about the Punk Ryback finish. There will be spoilers. If you haven't watched it, do not watch this video. Number 2 is generally about the Divas. Their division, where it is now, how it may have been damaged beyond repair, and where it used to be, and in other companies as well. So we're going to kind of do a broad talk about that. And number 3 is a general look. We're kind of making our third conversation of the episode about things that happened beforehand or things that could have happened and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about Bret Hart, and if the Montreal Screwjob had never happened, and also if he wasn't penned in to join WCW at that time, and we'll talk more about that. So yeah, plenty to talk about this week. We had Hell in a Cell. What was your overall thoughts of Hell in a Cell?
Weak, to say the least.
Yeah, I thought it probably was one of the weakest pay-per-views of recent memory that I've seen.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
There was a lot of matches that were put in that weren't even Raw-worthy matches.
I don't quite understand. It's like Hell in a Cell, one Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. Yeah, I was quite shocked to see that Sheamus and Big Show wasn't the Cell match. Normally the 2 big titles, and if there was any more damnation that the heavyweight title is a lesser title, then they really showed it last night. You know what I mean? It wasn't important enough.
The fact that they didn't deem it worthy for a Cell.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in terms of the Ryback Punk match, yeah, they did incorporate the Cell. It wasn't as brutal. It was a typical PG Cell match, if you can call it that. But yeah, it kind of felt like it was Hell in a Cell without the Hell in a Cell a little bit. Do you agree with that?
I could agree with that. I mean, you could generally just chuck a Hell in a Cell on any major pay-per-view. I mean, WrestleMania, biggest event of the year, but had a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And to have the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and have just one when there were, 5 titles on hand?
Yeah, they did a lot of
every title was up for grab.
Yeah.
And only the WWE Championship was in a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think it was a very poor event. I watched it on a stream because it's just tough to get an actual general pay-per-view in Ireland where I live. So I watched it on a stream, and when you do that, you've got a lot of people in the chat. And I tell you what, the amount of people that are disappointed with watching it is... I haven't seen that response for a WWE event for a while. And I said that going in, that... the Punk Ryback match was really the only one that I was genuinely interested to see.
It was a selling point for us, yeah.
They had good matches on the event. They did. They had, in my opinion, about 3 good matches. One of them world class, at least 9 out of 10. But the show, in terms of its general interest, was pretty low, and I found that the match with Alberto Del Rio and Orton just stank of thrown together rivalry, and they have to understand that people aren't interested in that. It was like...
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of like, Del Rio can't get the title anymore, Orton can't get the title anymore, let's have them face off.
Yeah, that's essentially it. It's the fact that Del Rio is boring on the mic. He's not gonna... I don't think he's gonna be in the title hunt any soon. I think his push has ended, and that's where he's going to be. And for someone to have the titles that he's been WWE champion,
twice.
Yeah, and like it's. I mean, one of the things I want to talk about, it kind of incorporates the Hell in a Cell thing, is that Randy Orton, he looks like he's just checked out so much of the whole product. Is unbelievable. He just doesn't look like he cares.
I mean, I know that you weren't actually able to watch that match, obviously, being on the live stream, and we both believed, it's going to be 1 o'clock. They're all 1 o'clock. Shit, daylight savings time, midnight.
We'll add that in, quickly. That we got the times wrong because of the daylight savings. So I started watching it. You watched the whole thing, but I started watching it. I think it was
about an hour in.
No, it was about 45 minutes in. I can't remember exactly what match it was.
Kofi Miz?
Yeah, Kofi Miz. It was literally, I started on and Miz was walking out for the match, so yeah.
Yeah, just in time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of really uninteresting matches. The best match of the night, I'm shocked to even say this, went down to Sheamus and Show. Yeah. That was a WrestleMania worthy match. Like,
and that was a wrestling match as well.
Yeah, and I think it's more impressive for Sheamus, being that normally Big Show is associated with matches that aren't that thrilling. You know, he's a slow-paced wrestler, you know what I mean? And his matches normally finish quickly, and they normally finish in the same old ways. I think Sheamus is starting to get an almost Bret Hart sort of staple with him, that no matter who he's put in the ring with, he'll draw a very world-class match out of him.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So, like, kudos to him for that. I've been noticing that myself recently, and it was a phenomenal match. I started watching it, and I was like, I'm kind of flicking in and out. I went to go get myself some food. I'll tell you what, midway through that match, I was pinned, and I was really invested in that match, and it was a great finish, a great clean finish, might I add, which we don't normally get with a heel versus a face.
Yeah, definitely.
Where the heel wins, at least.
The one thing that I generally like the most about the event, the match itself, is that whole thing. It's like Big Show was like, I can knock you out.
Yeah.
Call it 5-6 seconds and the match will be over.
Yeah.
And it was a good 25 minute match.
Yeah.
And it was all to and fro. I mean, yeah, Sheamus did spend a lot of it getting squashed, but then he was against the Big Show.
Yeah.
But whenever Sheamus got on the offensive, he was effective.
Yeah, definitely. And when he was on top, he was dishing out big attacks. And I'll tell you what helped in that match as well. The commentary very much helped, and more so JBL's commentary, because I remember listening to that, and he was really putting over the Big Show, saying, you know, this guy is a giant, this guy, you don't know what you're doing when you're in the ring with him. He really put him over as a legitimate threat, and I know that he's a giant and everything, but sometimes he's like, that part of him's put to the wayside a little bit, and they kind of do it all. JBL kind of went into it a little bit more, that he is, why he could win the title, why he's so dominant. You know, all you can do in the ring is survive with the Big Show and stuff like this. That when he won the title, and when the match was over and Big Show won the title, which I think is a great finish, by the way, a great way for Sheamus's title run to end in a match of that quality. I don't mind if Big Show had won the match within, let's say, 10 minutes.
If we had, or if you had like similar to like WrestleMania again.
Yeah, then I would have been like, well, we've got Big Show champion. But now, after that match, like, people are going to look at it now. He had to go through everything to beat Sheamus. You know what I mean?
To earn that champion.
Yeah.
Earn the title at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that was quite a good selling point, especially about the event, is just about the matches. Like, they had never actually wrestled before.
Yeah.
Like, they'd both gone through separate, in a sense, tiers of superstars to get to Big Show, to get number one contender. And obviously Sheamus was always defending against Orton, Del Rio and all that lot.
Yeah.
But where it was essentially, I mean, they were selling it as the kick versus the punch.
Yeah, and it didn't end up being about that as well, which is one of the good things I thought about that.
And they're both obviously kicking out of each other's finisher and that lot. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is actually going to get really tense. Like, what the heck's going to happen?
Yeah, I love it. At those part of matches, you just do not know who's going to win. It's not predictable. And, like, going into that match, I mean, I didn't know who was going to be champion. If anything, I probably would have put my money on Sheamus winning. But those parts of matches that even if you think it's predictable, if the match is of that quality, suddenly all that goes out the window and you're like, Jesus Christ, who's going to win this match?
I don't actually know.
Yeah, like... and that last night in that match was one of those moments. It was very high quality. I thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, out of watching Hell in a Cell as a whole, I think that that's what it will be remembered for. I will remember it for that as a very good match. And I have to give props to Big Show as well, because I've kind of been on his back for ages, saying stuff like, he doesn't put off good matches. He's probably the best of the big guys, but that's not a great mantle to have. Last night, he showed he could really really go for it. And
deliver as well.
Yeah, and he like I said, I give a lot of props to Sheamus because he's been doing this with a lot of guys, but you have to give props to him for the show as well for winning the title that convincingly and making a really great match in an event without that match would have seemed extremely soulless. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, kudos to them. I'd love to see. That's one of the matches that I'm not big and keen on watching rematches. I think they're a bit boring and a bit stale. I think
considering the result, it's just like But that generally was a match where it's just like psychology, mentality, and just everything that would go into the match was just perfect.
Yeah, I'd say that I'd be more than happy watching a Sheamus show rematch. The next pay-per-view, if they put a bit more of a spin on it, that it's not a, and that's one thing I wanted to say as well, just quickly, that the cell didn't come down when we were watching it, and you and me were quite shocked. We were like, wait a minute, there's no cell. Yeah. But I think that maybe, now while it's kind of down to the gimmicky of the show, and if they're going to call it Hell in a Cell, it should have been a Hell in a Cell match. I'm kind of glad now that it wasn't, because of the quality of the match that they pulled out, and maybe they couldn't have done that if the cell was involved.
There was quite a few moments where it was like show on the outside and Sheamus being able to get outside and gain that sort of height.
Yeah.
I mean, you rarely get a height advantage over a guy who's 7 foot.
Yeah.
But if he's on the outside and you're on the apron, you have that drop, and obviously Sheamus always drops a double axe handle from somewhere.
Yeah.
And he has with that elevation and all that lot, and there wouldn't have been necessarily the room if they had obviously dropped the cell.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Kudos to them. Main thing we want to talk about is Punk and Ryback. We spoke about this in length when it comes to last episode, and we were talking about different directions they could take it. They did take a very very direct approach. If you haven't caught it, spoilers now. I'm going to tell you what happens. Ryback gets screwed by the referee.
Who had actually screwed over Punk only a few weeks previous.
Yeah, I caught that as well. Yeah. The one that got like a beratement from AJ or something. So there's obviously going to be some sort of storyline with that. And Punk got the pinfall victory after Ryback was screwed out.
It was a terrible screw, though, wasn't it? Because, not to mention the low blow, but it was the fact the ref was even on Ryback's legs.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that because it helped sold it more.
Oh yeah, but it was that sort of just like, like he really did screw Ryback over there.
Yeah. There's that, and then basically Ryback went on a rampage. He ended the pay-per-view strong in that sense, that he went up to the top of the cell, which I was quite giddy about because I was like, oh my god,
when
have they now done this?
Ran to the top and that gave chase.
Yeah. Which gives Ryback a very good bit for his Titantron, at least. That's a very good moment for him. In terms of the direction this match is going to go forward, I thought that it's one of their safer finishes. But now, what they've done now is that they have to 100% bring this storyline involving Ryback and him getting screwed. They have to make it top quality, A+, 5 stars, or it's gonna hurt Ryback. And the only thing I could think of is at the end of that show is because they've done a lot of problems with dropping storylines here and there. If they mess this up, they might have messed him up.
Yeah. The one thing they can sort of go with is like he had his undefeated, he is now defeated, but it wasn't a legit loss.
Yeah.
He got screwed, and then as you said, he finished strong. dropping Shockwave on top of the cell.
Yeah.
And I was expecting to go, and I was praying for it to go, but it didn't happen. But he still finishes on top. He lost, but at the end of it, Punk was the one who was on his back.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make it now, and this is a 180 because you got to make Ryback still strong because he's going up, he's going big, and you want to continue that push because the fans are into him, and they were last night. There was a lot of Goldberg chants, but like I said before, man, when those Feed Me More chants kicked in, you can't hear Goldberg. Exactly, one of the things that I was wondering there is that CM Punk, he's always, as a heel, it has to kind of say, well, I would have beaten him anyway and all this stuff. In order to keep Ryback big, Punk has to be very careful about how he does his next few promos regarding Ryback.
I don't know necessarily if he will. He probably will. He retained, he beat Ryback, so he probably will just go, oh, there was never actually a doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
But to start with, where he went to Vince, he's like, call it off. I don't want to do it. and Vince essentially attacked him as a character, as a person, just like, you don't think you have the balls to do it.
Yeah.
You're actually scared. And it's like, even with Paul Heyman in the back, it's like, I do believe in you, you can do this. But there were so many moments where you could see in Heyman's eyes, it's like, he's fucked.
Yeah. Well, I like a good bit of commentary there with Cole. He basically said that Ryback was about to win the title. As long as they give that thought to the fans, that he was literally seconds away from hitting Cell Shock, seconds away from winning the title. As long as they sell that, and he got screwed, then I think Ryback will be okay, because then the fans will be like,
champion.
Yeah, then the fans will be like, well, you know, it's not Ryback's fault. He would have definitely have been champion, and then he'll have his little moment.
They need to push that. I think it's generally something that people will probably just come to the conclusion of on their own.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see on Raw tonight. This episode will probably air after Raw, so apologies if there's any big announcements or anything. We'll probably do a chat later on in the week. So yeah, you get a double episode this week, I imagine. So. Yeah, you got the like I said, the whole Raw is tonight, so maybe they'll do something there. It will be interesting to see where they go with it. Like I said, I thought it was one of their safer finishes. I still think that, I mean, yeah, they've got the Ryback's undefeated streak is gone. It wasn't as big as I imagine as Punk's championship run, and I think they really, really want to push his title run, because every single time that the championship comes involved, the title run is what they're talking about. So I think now Punk will probably be champion now until Royal Rumble. He'll have his match against The Rock. Then The Rock will beat him. The Rock will probably go against Cena at Mania.
I don't want another, but it'll probably happen.
Well, there could be changes from there on now. That's just the general consensus. If something changes,
still 6 months away.
Yeah, if there's something changes and maybe The Rock doesn't go against Cena, that's another conversation of who he'll face. But Hell in a Cell, it was a little bit of a blech sort of ending. It was good for Ryback in the sense that he dominated and he beat the crap out of the referee. And
the referee got destroyed.
He did, yeah. Which is good, you know. It kind of sells his character that, like I said in the last episode as well, that Cena did say that Ryback doesn't care about the title. They could sell that to the moon, say that Ryback doesn't care that he lost. He beat the crap out of the pair of them. He's happy, you know what I mean? Yeah. Make him like that. So yeah, WWE pulled themselves into a corner. They have to now make a very top line storyline to sell the fact that he was properly screwed and it wasn't just a random referee who just didn't like him for some reason. They need a good storyline to follow this now, which is going to be hard because Ryback isn't on the mic. So maybe we might see Ryback on the mic a little bit. I don't know. I think it's better if we don't see him on the mic for at least a while. But we'll see how it goes from there at very least. So, is there anything else you want to add? A few things about Hell in a Cell, some of the other matches, but not the main talking points. I know you wanted to talk about Cesaro, so go ahead with that.
I mean, like we were covering, it's a little nig, like considering what we were talking about last episode, where it was just like, always coming out and talking in their native language, and they kind of fell into that trap again with Cesaro. I mean, I get it, the guy's Swiss, but just putting that aside, and it's not a necessary thing to have. Obviously, the crowds aren't exactly going to understand him. They're not Swiss.
They did not react to what he was saying at all.
Not at all.
And rightly so. But yeah, carry on.
The actual match itself, I mean, it's even like Justin Gabriel as well. Like, he's definitely pulled himself out from the ashes a little bit. Nexus fell, and now he's sort of slowly building himself up. Yeah. But the pair of them actually, I reckon, pulled off a really good match between sort of like a cruiserweight versus a heavyweight.
Yeah. And I think it was very good as well that they let Gabriel beat Cesaro before the event, because it gave you that what if factor. I think
if he can hit it once, he could hit it again.
Yeah, that sort of thing. I mean, my main thing was Cesaro's going to win. The thing that I'd say with Cesaro is that he's a great wrestler. He's very flawless in the ring. I don't even see him making mistakes half the time. Definitely. Great physique, great general strength for a guy of his build. That he could pick up a lot of people quite easily.
It was just the real simple sort of like he deadlifted like Gabriel from the outside, literally just like gut wrench up you get in the ring. Nothing.
Yeah, so he's very powerful. You can tell what he's got there is really clean cut. But I think it's his character. I think that he needs to stop the whole 5 languages thing. I think the more he talks in a different language, people aren't gonna know what he's saying, therefore they're not going to react.
I think that five language thing originally kicked off. It was just almost to sell the simple fact that Oksana's still around.
Yeah.
Just like with that whole five language thing, and they always finished on French just to reinforce the fact it's the language of love. These two are together.
Yeah.
But now that he's basically kicked Oksana to the wayside, he doesn't necessarily need it. He's perfectly happy to turn around and say, none of you Americans are worthy of your United States title. Yeah. He can say that in English.
Yeah.
Like, I need to carry on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's not that horrible on the mic. He's better than a lot of people that would have been in the same level as him. I.e. Kofi Kingston, but yeah, don't get me started on that.
That again.
Yeah, that again. Yeah, I think he can be big, and he can be big if his character is severely amended. And the longer he's with the character that he's with now, I think it's going to be more detrimental to his future progression. But I like him. I think he's really good in the ring. He pulls out good matches, and he's got, like I said, that inner sort of strength for a guy of his build that you don't suspect, which is a little bit shocking. And I tell you what, that uppercut move is just,
I love his uppercut.
Yeah.
Especially considering it is that sort of like the proper launch into the air and you fall on it.
Yeah, yeah. That is a really good... I think that should be one of his finishes. I think it's one of those finishes that wrestlers do good with, the finishes that just pop up out of nowhere. That's why the RKO was so big.
Yeah, the RKO, the bro kick,
stunner.
something out of nowhere. Yeah, stunner is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Or even Jericho with the code breaker.
Yeah, yeah. Like the ones that can happen out of nowhere and the fans are like, wow, where did that come from? That's one of his things.
Rather than no real setup.
Yeah. Sweet Chin Music is another one like that as well, where you literally a guy turn around, bang, he's down, fans go mad. So, yeah. I think there's a lot of things good with Cesaro. There's also a lot of things that are very bad. Maybe not down to him, it's the character he's been given. But there has to be changes to his character or he will regress rather than progress. Would you agree with that?
I could definitely agree with that. I mean, he gets over when he's wrestling and everyone understands that he is the big powerhouse heel.
Yeah.
If he can't hold the mic, then they're not really going to get him.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. One other guy I want to talk about quickly before we go. I know we're talking a lot about the first conversation, but we normally do anyway, so it's okay. Sin Cara, I want to have a brief chat about him.
Mr. Botch, non-botch.
Mr. Botch did not botch last night. I know he landed on his head. That maybe could be perceived as a botch. I don't think it was his fault. I think it was a general mistake by him and Titus O'Neil. That's fine. It was kind of scary because I know those landing on the head things can really... That's injury. That's injury central.
Injury territory, yeah.
So there is that. But I think that since Rey Mysterio... I heard my very first Sin Cara chart last night as well, thanks to Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I think now Mysterio's sort of taken him under his wing. It's the best thing he could have got.
Yeah, now they've got the student-teacher thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Cole even mentioned it whilst on commentary last night. It's just a simple fact. Sin Cara has become cleaner.
Yeah.
Like, he generally all his moves seem to be a lot crisper.
Yeah.
And obviously, the lack of botch last night seems to show it.
Yeah, I tell you what,
it's good for his career.
Yeah. The longer he goes, having good quality matches without botching, that botch thing will eventually go. But he has to stop botching. I mean, that's a given. Like, he had pretty much the first year of his time with WWE was just mistake after mistake after mistake, whether it was entrances, finishes, people getting annoyed with him. The longer
superstars would have gone. I think it's where, like, it's kind of difficult to say because, like, a lot of superstars, you make too many mistakes and, like, you've seen so many people just, like, get cast aside.
Yeah, that's it. And then they get forgotten.
Where they may have tried so hard to get Sin Cara.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to pull the big Mexican fans and obviously Sin Cara or oh Christ, Del Rio. I was trying to think of Sin Cara's original one, Mystico.
Yeah.
But big in Mexico, and they want to bring that.
Yeah, that's a big demographic, and Sin Cara is absolutely huge over there. Like he is revered very highly. So yeah, it's one of those things that he has got given more of a chance than the usual wrestler would have got. But that being said, he's not a horrible wrestler by any means. You don't get that big in Mexico by being a botchy freak. You don't you get it by being a good, entertaining wrestler. And that he is. He's got that potential. He just needs to Americanize his wrestling, make it less flashy, more impacty. He needs to.
He generally does have quite a good few flashy impact moves, like his sort of like float over arm drag and all that lot. They generally look good.
Yeah,
and it's that space maker that somebody who relies on speed needs.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's the way that I would go with Sin Cara now is that you need to change some bits of his character, because I think his entrance music is deadening to the crowd. It doesn't get them excited, and it's like, oh, he's mysterious, but then there's no also response from the crowd. So maybe that needs to change his entrance music a little bit.
They got rid of the lighting one step at a time.
Oh, the lighting was probably the worst part of it. You know what I mean? They really messed up on his debut a little bit. It wasn't entirely his fault. It was some of the choices that they made. But I think with Sin Cara, he needs to carry on with the tag team with Mysterio until it comes up close to WrestleMania, then have a match against Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, and put out all the stops and make his name. And then then once they've done that, then see where he goes from there. You know what I mean? And see where the fans have taken him. So, Sin Cara, he had a good show last night. Now the majority of him was him being attacked. He did the Shawn Michaels thing when DX had title matches where he gets beaten up all the time. But no, it was a botch-free showing from him, and hopefully we can see much more of that.
There's one thing though, PG WWE. Did you not think Titus O'Neil was getting a little bit racist? Speak English, whack. Speak English, whack.
I completely forgot about that.
Who needs AW when you have Titus O'Neil?
He's picking up that mantle. Go with it, Titus O'Neil. Go with it. Say those outrageous things.
We need fired in 3 weeks.
He's going to come out with a headset now, just spouting millions of dollars over and over again. The spirit of AW lives on. Okay, right. Is there anything else you want to add from Hell in a Cell?
Overall, meh.
No.
That's about it, really.
Okay, our second conversation, so if you click number 2, you'll probably be redirected right here, is we're talking about the Divas Division. One of the things that I wanted to talk about this with this as well is that I've got WrestleMania 19 on DVD. And I don't have many wrestling DVDs. It was just one that I picked up for cheap, and I was like, oh, it was a pretty decent WrestleMania. It was Austin's last match. In many ways, it was The Rock's last huge WrestleMania match, if you forget his Cena match. And it had a lot of like Hogan versus Vince McMahon. And one of the other matches they had on there as well was Victoria versus Trish versus Jazz. It was a triple threat women's title match. And it was very good quality. And it made me think, even more so than I do when watching a usual Divas match, how has it got this bad?
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to call, really, because I think it's just generally the Divas that they started pulling in after then.
Yeah.
I mean, they had Mickey James came in and had her little obsession with Trish.
Yeah.
But Mickey was a strong female wrestler.
Yeah, she was good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. But from there on, I can't think of many Divas who have come in and not necessarily made an impact. Beth Phoenix made an impact as the fact that she was a powerhouse diva.
Yeah.
Or, like, very short-lived Karma, and I'd love to see her come back.
Yeah.
But, like, she made her impact as well.
Yeah.
But there's quite a lot of divas, it's just like, meh.
Yeah,
it's a woman in an outfit, and she has boots, and she pulls hair and screams a bit.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
It is. I think that it's not entirely the Divas' fault that they are where they are. The way that WWE sells the job of being a diva to these girls is you don't have to wrestle that well. All you have to do is be good looking. You have to be charismatic, I guess. Not most of them are. You have to be able to do photo shoots and work a heavy schedule. And here you go. You've got loads of fans because wrestling
it's
fans
essentially
will accept you.
I want you to be a model, but you might have to fall on your ass a couple of times.
Yeah. It's the way that WWE gets these women in to do the job. That wrestling is not their first thought. And it's almost like they do their duties as a diva first, wrestling comes second, and it should never be that way. I know that they had more outrageous storylines. They're probably even more sort of evil to the women back in the days of Trish Stratus and Lita, the storylines that they were in. But they also knew that they had to get it done in the ring, and they were given time to have a really good women's match, and they were given time to have a storyline.
Yes,
that was good. Now they've gone so long without having a decent women's match and had these stupid 10-second matches or 6 women tag team matches where no one gets a tag. So like 4 of the women
nobody
don't even
actually
step
did
in the
anything.
ring.
It just turned into a little clusterfuck, and there was a pin.
Yeah, there's it. They've done so much damage, and they've been so insulting to the viewers when it comes to Divas matches that I think they've done irreparable damage to their Divas division. I don't think they can fix it, at least for now, for a very long term project.
I mean, I would admit, like last night especially, I noticed it watching Hell in a Cell. Actually, my girlfriend Sally picked it up just as it started. The moment Eve's music hit and it had a big pan out shot of the ring, you could see people just getting up and leave. And I will admit, about 2 seconds later, I was outside having a cigarette.
Yeah.
We even had it on Sky Plus. I could have paused it, but no.
Yeah.
We just left it.
Yeah. And you know what? Quite rightly so, because there's been no sort of inkling from WWE that they are going to pour more resources into more developing. I mean, this whole storyline with Caitlyn and
Layla
was probably the first actual genuine diva storyline that they've had for a while, and it sucks. So like what they need to do is they need to, like, Caitlyn isn't so bad. I think that she has a little bit more of an inkling for the actual wrestling side of wrestling, if you could call it that.
Yes.
There's a few of them on there that are okay. I mean, Eve actually isn't too bad. She's actually probably the best on-screen diva they have, because she can do promos okay. She can do backstage promos between people fairly good. Do you know what I mean? So she's not too bad.
She has quite a varied in-ring style as well.
Yes.
In the sense, she's almost like a submissions diva.
Yeah, yeah. So she's not too bad. I don't have a problem with her. But there's a lot of female talent on the roster that could very easly be forgotten tomorrow if they left by the actual wrestling fans of
Where's
WWE.
Alicia Fox been?
I don't care. That's the problem. That's it.
Just to make a point.
Yeah, just to make a point. Like, there's a lot of really good female wrestlers out there. A lot of wrestlers that if they would take a plunge in, that they could do very good with. The way that I think of it now, right, is that they could be radical enough now. Their Divas division is so horrible and so uninteresting to not only the generic wrestling fan, to us as wrestling fans, but the generic wrestling fan.
Yeah.
That they could go crazy. They could let a lot of those divas go, right, and sell a brand new lot of divas coming in. Now this is very radical, and it probably WWE will never go for it. It's too risky, but they could get rid of a lot of their female roster.
Yeah.
Let them go. Most of them seem like they don't mind going anyway, considering Kelly and Beth Phoenix and all this lot. Keep the ones that are doing okay, like keep maybe 2 or 3, and just get the checkbook out and sign some very good female talent. It won't be that expensive. Like they want to get up there to that big ranks. And if you sell the fact that this is going to be a brand new Divas division where wrestling is the forefront, get divas that are good on the mic and give them time to hit a sufficient promo. If Big Show can have maybe 20 seconds on a mic to say how he likes about winning the title, give a diva a minute of what you would normally have as a recap on Raw anyway, of stuff that you've already seen. Give her a minute on the mic to try and sell herself if she's proved that she can be good.
Well, they've got NXT for a reason.
Yes.
I mean, from what I've watched of NXT, they actually really have a stronger women's division there than they actually do on Raw, which is really bizarre, because if everyone is leaving to go and have a fag or take a piss before the main event at a main event pay-per-view, like as Hell in a Cell last night, then then you really have something wrong. You should have, why is your weaker division getting less airtime?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think a radical change needs to be had. I mean, the fact is that WWE, the Divas Division hasn't been at the fore. It's probably been on the back burner for a multitude of years, and that's why the damage has been done. For all the time that they have, and all the reruns, and on SmackDown they have the From the Vault BS. There is time. If you gave them time, you would get the results back from it. Yeah, sure. The first 6 months or so, you might get some shocking promos. You might even get some shocking matches that just last too long. But in the long term, then your divas are going to get better. They're going to sell matches at these big events like Survivor Series or WrestleMania better, and you're going to, God be knows, like, touch wood, maybe one day we'll see a divas match on a card we'll genuinely be excited about and we'll want to watch.
And it's been too long. It's been a real long time since we've actually seen anything like that.
Exactly.
I think the last Divas match I probably got excited about, the Divas title wasn't actually around.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's killed it, is just that word diva.
Diva, yeah. The Divas title. I don't know why they got rid of the Women's Championship. The amount of prestige that title has is very close.
Dating all the way back.
Yeah, and it's got some very legendary female wrestlers as champions on that list. For them to get rid of it is almost, wow, it's just, I can't believe it. Like, it's almost as shocking as when they got rid of the IC title for that little while, if you remember.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's they don't want to live in the past. They want to go in the future. The problem is then that they're winning a title that has absolutely zero prestige, and it doesn't have that history. The part of winning the WWE title is because it dates back all that time, and you're then alongside such wrestling heroes as Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, Mankind, all this. You know what I mean? Bret Hart.
Yeah, I mean, where if you think, I hold the Divas champion, who was previously held by Maurice.
Yeah, who was sometime won by Alicia Fox, and it's just like, they're not WWE legends. They're not going to be remembered as legends. You know what I mean?
Think Melina was probably the last effective diva to hold the Divas champion.
Yeah, but I'm glad she's gone, because I can't stand that fucking screaming. Jesus. Yeah, she sounds like a harpy. Yeah, I would hate to date her. I think that she'd be horrible.
Yeah, what was John Morrison thinking?
That's a whole different conversation. So, oh God. Oh dear. If anyone has watched our other videos and we do this Guild Wars 2 thing, and like Matt come up with this thing was harpy goes, more victims. That's the only thing I can think of now when I think of Melina. Does she like go up to more victims? Yeah. Anyway, should we get back on topic?
Swiftly on.
Anything else you want to talk about, Divas?
Well, because we mentioned like right at the start of this that we won't necessarily keep it on to WWE.
Yeah.
Because there is a much stronger women's division out there. And it's the TNA Knockouts.
Yeah, I've always said that for a while, actually. That now I know a lot of the knockouts that I was interested in, like Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. I know they're not around there anymore. They've got other divas that they're focusing around. But one thing they've always given time towards their knockouts, or female wrestlers. So
yeah,
I mean I don't keep up with TNA that much, but one thing I've always seen that they have is solid, and they give time, and like stuff like you see DDTs on chairs, and I'm like, yeah, like
I miss this wrestling.
Yeah, I miss, like, when did it go that these girls were afraid to get a little bit hardcore and go a little? Imagine if let's say that Layla and fucking Eve said, all right, we're gonna go all out. We'll do a hardcore match now. We're not going to fuck each other's faces open or anything like that, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to bleed or anything.
Just at least get a chair.
Yeah, and just, like, really shock the fans, you know what I mean? Like, they could set up a really good match if they were to do that and, like, get genuine interest, but... Yeah, the Knockouts don't seem scared of that.
I mean, I'm thinking back to TNA when there was the six-sided ring before Hogan and Bischoff came and fucked it all up. Yeah. So we want four-sided, six-sided, make you different. That's good. Yeah. But ODB, ODB was like, nobody in their right mind would think I'd fuck that.
Yeah.
But she would tear you apart.
Yeah.
Like, she was a ruthless female competitor.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, Karma was there as the Awesome Kong.
Yeah.
And they had a really strong knockout division.
Yeah. Matches that you would want to see, and that's one of the things I was really excited for Karma to come into WWE with, because she would bring that sort of intensity and just good general wrestling skills.
Yeah.
But then it's like I said, if you bring one or two in, who are they going to work with? They can't work with each other because they're too new. That's why I'm saying that they have to bring a whole new division in. They have to shake things up big time, because
you can't have new school coming in and like, oh, we want to bring this, when all the current divas and all that are just thinking
won't know how to work with them as well.
It's a bit much.
Yeah. Like they say, all right, we might want to do maybe like a proper top quality 10-minute match where we kick out of each other's finishes, where we do the proper telling of a story during a match,
like a double down and everything. Like, we proper take this to the wire. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have the stamina for it. They don't have the skills for it. So yeah, I think that's one thing they should do. I mean, yeah, it would be impossible to do, and it would, and especially after WWE's like lawsuit troubles with TNA, that they probably wouldn't be able to get any TNA knockout talent. They could probably, if they wanted to, try and get Velvet Sky and all that lot, because she's a decent, and Angelina Love as well.
They both even like gained an interest in just going into the WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Angelina Love after she lost a lot of weight, because that's what Vince likes.
Yeah, yeah. I was very shocked. This is going back a while now, that they fired Candice Michelle because she got a little bit overweight. Now I know that they're models in the sense and everything. But it was such a knee-jerk reaction. It was like, wow, she doesn't look that great. Fire her immediately. Like, it was.
It's quite similar to Flawless, Michelle McCool and Layla, and Mickie James.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Piggy
with the
James
anti-bullying campaign. That was just hilarious. Just like...
That's kind of before the Be a Bully, just.
Yeah.
But it's that Mickie was the competent women's competitor.
Yeah.
And they were like, Piggy James, look at her fat chuck cake in her face. And it's just like, that's not really cool.
Yeah, no, it's...
She's good. Don't fuck with that.
Yeah, but the thing is with that as well is that they never... It's fair enough if you want to do that sort of storyline. You wanted to get them heat, and they did get them heat. But eventually you have to give Mickie the chance to show that she's a badass women's fighter and kick the crap out of him. She never got that chance. She never did. And it was almost like they were just being mean and she was taking it, which is like, you're supposed to be like doing anti-bullying, stand up for yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It never came around to that. But like I said, I think that they need to do a major shake-up, or it won't get better. And if they are going to get better with the wrestlers that they have, they need to change their priorities. But it won't happen. It's probably going to stay this way for the near future, at very least.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Stale.
So yeah, I think that's everything covered with that.
I'd say so.
If you had clicked up on the top right corner, the lovely little 3 button, you would come to here, and now basically we're talking about Bret Hart. I'm a big Bret Hart fan. I've got his DVD, The Best There Is, The Best There Was, The Best There Ever Will Be, and there's a lot of really good stuff on that, because that was just before he got too buddy with WWE. It was like he only just started kind of working with them again. So it was some really good sort of moments that he was on the camera, and one of the things that the main thing that we're talking about here is what would have happened to Bret Hart and WWE and maybe WCW as well, if Bret Hart hadn't agreed to go with WCW, and therefore the Montreal screw job hadn't happened. Just to give you a brief sort of background, if you kind of don't know what we're talking about, I imagine you would do, but anyway, Bret Hart was basically sick and tired of WWE, because they were basically pushing Shawn Michaels to the moon, and he was kind of being forgotten in that sense. He decided he wanted to go to WCW. They were paying him a lot of money, and Vince McMahon thought it was the money that was between them. I'm guessing he still does think that's the case. Bret Hart agreed to drop the title to Shawn Michaels at that paper when the Montreal screw job happened.
Yep.
It was all agreed. No, wait. I think it was either he was going to drop it then, or he would win that match and then drop it at a
Later
a Raw event that he was still contracted to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon shot off. He basically thought that Bret Hart was going to arrive in WCW with the WWE title, and basically parade around saying the WWE's crap. Here's their title. Blah blah blah. Bret Hart wasn't going to do that, but Vince McMahon panicked and did the Montreal Screwjob. And the rest is history. Bret Hart went to WCW. He made relatively no impact because WCW didn't use him at all.
Yeah.
Which is almost like a masterpiece. How do you not use Bret Hart? Just stupid.
To the full effect.
Yeah. And yeah, he got his concussion and had to stop wrestling. So that's the full story. But what would have happened if he didn't have that problem with WWE and he would have stayed? I don't know how savvy you are to how stuff was back then, Matt, but Bret Hart was huge. He was still...
No doubt.
He was extremely competent in the ring.
Yeah. The one man who currently prides himself with the fact that he's never injured a fellow superstar.
Yeah, and that to have that mantle is extremely impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling that at the time, Vince McMahon kind of thought his workhorse Bret Hart was done. Bret Hart worked very hard. He did almost every event he could.
Yeah. He was essentially... I hate to compare him to, but the Cena.
Yeah.
If you were to compare him to the new era,
yeah.
Cena is everywhere. He is always in attendance. He will always be there at some point.
I think the difference, while they have the same work ethic, I'd say Cena and Bret Hart. Bret Hart didn't do as many media stuff, but when he wasn't doing that media stuff, he was doing matches. So he wouldn't have been at... So John Cena would, while he would be out doing all these other interviews and doing all this other stuff, Bret Hart was busy honing wrestling and teaching other wrestlers and wrestling matches in front of the public.
Yes.
That was the thing there, and I think that it's a shame for Bret Hart. I think he was damned if he did, he was damned if he didn't, because he went to WCW, he wasn't used correctly. He became champion eventually, but it was like they could have done something much more with Bret Hart. With
WCW, it was more of a, well, I guess it's about time you had it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, but with WWE, I think it probably would have been the same thing. I think that Vince McMahon had his new plaything, which was Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
He was the dick Shawn Michaels back then.
Yes.
I think Bret Hart probably would have... Yeah, sure, he probably would have won another WWE title. I think, though, that he would never have got to the sort of heights and in his career than he deserved to. Which is a shame. I think that Bret Hart's one of my all-time favourites. He's very much respected by the wrestling community. But yeah, I mean, would you agree with that? Would you think that? Do you disagree? Do you think that maybe he would have stayed in WWE, become as even bigger of a star, or?
I couldn't necessarily tell. Because obviously, as you said, like Vince was trying to push Shawn Michaels as his next sort of big superstar, and even if it hadn't come down to the Montreal Screwjob, would it eventually have just? I mean, their storyline would have probably pushed a little further on, and Shawn Michaels would have probably gained a little more credit as the new big thing.
Yeah.
I think eventually Bret would have sort of slipped and sort of not have been main event, sort of second to last, and just, in a sense, decline.
Yeah.
I think as you said, he's damned if he did it, if he's damned if he didn't. I think eventually he literally would have got to that point where it's just like, well, why?
Yeah.
Like, because I can.
Yeah. I think he was very hurt, and I would have been as well, to put that effort in and to take the mantle, for have it to be ripped away from you. And he wasn't as if he was that old. He was just as good as he ever was in the ring, and as a personality, he was better than ever, because he had he was better on the mic. He was the best on the mic he ever was in his career at that time.
Yeah.
He could sell a storyline so well. I think that he definitely, his time definitely wasn't up. I think he could have given a lot more. But yeah, it is a shame. I think that he in that moment, he was screwed, whether he was the Montreal Screwjob or not. I think that WWE had made their choice.
Even if, I mean, as we both kind of agree, it's just if it wouldn't have been a Montreal Screwjob, it would have just been
him leaving.
An eventual Screwjob, like a gradual sort of thing.
Like he probably wouldn't have shown up on TV for ages, and he's on WCW. So yeah. It's just, like I said, it's a shame. If you guys disagree with our views on what would happen to Bret Hart if he would have stayed in WWE, please leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your debates on that.
As you imagine, there's enough times loads of people have their own opinion.
Yeah,
people will like and people will hate, and everyone holds their own ground.
Exactly, that's it. That's what I said in the last episode. That's one of the great things about wrestling. Everyone has their own view, everyone has their own opinion about different wrestlers and everything. But I'm in no way, like I said, I'm a huge Bret Hart fan. I'm not in no way saying that him being pushed by the wayside would have been his fault. It definitely wasn't. In fact, when he went to WCW, it was not his fault that he got injured or forgotten or whatever. The company was just in so many different hands.
That was just WCW.
It was, and they could have really put the boot to WWE once they got Bret Hart, because he was a huge star, and after the Screwjob he came in so hot, and he came in with so much publicity, and so many fans were like, "I'm done with WWE. They're such a dirty company."
If they don't have Bret, I don't care.
But they didn't use him. They kept going on with this whole NWO thing and stuff like he was going to join or anything like this. And
you could have literally had like the story of Bret stands against the NWO. He literally just comes in and goes, "Well, what the hell are you playing at?"
Yeah. But he came into this big storyline where Sting was pretty much already there, and I think his first act in WCW was where he played like special guest referee to Hogan and Sting at Starrcade, which was a horrible ending for him to be a part of. I wonder if he objected or said, "Look, this ain't gonna work" or anything like that, because it didn't work. It was stupid.
Yeah, but it's just like, no, it's fine, go with it.
Yeah, that's it. So, but yeah. I think that's pretty much all on that anyway. Like I said, leave a comment if you have any other views. We'd love to hear from you. Is there anything else you want to chat about this week before we finish off? Or
I can't really think of anything else, no. May as well just leave it at 3 a week.
Yeah, we tend to talk quite a bit in these things. We were planning to have it about maybe about 10 minutes per conversation, but we end up going on for about an hour. So
just like the last episode. It's like, it took quick 10 minutes a topic, 55-minute video.